Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Chakaritanam Karnam.
So we welcome you today for this class here, very special topic today. Actually, I think all the topics are very special on these classes. This year we are exploring not only the positive values that we need to imbibe, but we are also exploring the anarthas, certain things that we need to get rid of. So today we are very fortunate. We're going to be hearing the class from His Holiness Bhakti Vinoda Swami. He's a preacher from South India, and not only a preacher, he's also taking care of a zone in South India. So he has taught many times at the VIC, and what we're going to be hearing about is criticism. Oh, that's a bad one. So he will lead us through that, how we should obviously avoid criticism. What are the dangers of criticism? It's so easy to criticize others. They always say when we point the fault at somebody, we have one finger pointing at the other, and we have like all the other fingers pointing at ourselves. So it's a very bad habit. But unfortunately, in this age, the minds are very prone to criticize others. So we'd like you to all put your cameras on. Here I see many devotees have their cameras off. Maharaj would be happy to see all of you. So while we are waiting for Maharaj to join, if I understand he's joining shortly, I'd like to ask some of you what you are gaining from these value classes that we are holding. Anyone would like to answer that question? How are you being benefited by these classes that we are holding?
This is of immense value, Mataji. Sorry, here in our temple there is kirtan going on, so I can't speak. You won't be able to hear my words. The sound, are you getting my sound or you are getting disturbance?
Yeah, we are hearing you, Prabhu.
I am very much thankful for your these value classes, but because at 8 o'clock every day I have a seva, so I am able to attend only up to 8 a.m. But these are of great significance. I find them more important than the normal course what I am attending at VISC. These value classes are of more importance even in my personal experience, because they talk about my defects, my shortcomings, and they train me. They tell me how I can improve in my relationships and in my understanding and practical applications. So I personally thank you so much.
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Can you hear
Hare
me?
Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance, Maharaj. Dandavat pranam.
Thank you,
Can you hear me?
Prabhu, for your for answering the question, for
I don't
speaking.
get a reply.
Bhakti Vinod Maharaj, are you here? Is that you that we are hearing?
Can you hear my audio?
Yes, we are
Prashanta
hearing,
Mataji.
Maharaj.
I can't hear you.
Hare Krishna.
I can't
You
hear
are not
you.
hearing us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we are
Something
hearing
went
you.
wrong here.
Positive. Yeah, we are hearing.
Oops. Yeah. Try now.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. We clicked it.
Please accept the humble obeisances,
Hari Bol.
Maharaj. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I'm
Hari
extremely
Bol.
happy. I'm very happy today, Maharaj, to have you back. Somehow through the cyber space, we managed finding you in your South Indian gufa.
Each one to his own gufa.
Yes, thank you so much, Maharaj, for accepting
Hari.
to come and enlighten us on this very important topic. These are classes that we introduced about 3 years ago. We have morning classes, usually dealing with values, qualities, and we are also exploring some negative aspects of values or some anarthas this year we are dealing with. So thank you so
Got
much.
the right man. I'm full of anarthas.
Maharaj, we are a family. So I will let you start, Maharaj. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry. I made 4 attempts to come inside and something or the other happened. And I quit Zoom and came back again and again. I was very determined. There is some Bhuta spirit here who is stopping me from associating with all of you. So I was determined to come in. Sorry about the time. Om Tat Sat.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hari Bol. I don't know who is who much, but I can recognize some of the faces here. I know most of the faces here, but I may not know some of the names maybe. Hare Krishna to all of you. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Pranams.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Jai, Jai. Thank you very much for joining in and being very patient while I try to move in and log in. This morning, early morning, I've been asked to talk to you about a very interesting topic, which I revel in and sort of enjoy doing all the time, criticizing others. Om Tat Sat. So this topic is something I think very, very important, vital, and also something that is very, what shall I say, common. Human beings have a very natural propensity to actually quickly judge and put people in slots within their subtle body and then attack them. It's an amazing thing that we do. It's a natural default wiring that conditioned souls have in the material world, especially in society in the here and now today. We see that it's a world fueled by greed, an economy that's fueled by greed. There's a lot of competition, and everybody's encouraged to be successful, which actually, by definition, means that trounce on others and climb your way up. And one of the most important things to do that is to belittle others, criticize others, and feel yourself to be greater, prove yourself to be greater, and move up the ladder. That's the type of atmosphere that we live in the material world. As practicing devotees who want to achieve a very diametrically opposite goal of wanting to become pure servants of Krishna with pure bhakti, this is a very great challenge. To live in an atmosphere of criticism, which is very common and accepted, and to encourage, nourish the opposite, that is constant glorification of devotees of Krishna and his pastimes, his gunas, his qualities, etc., is a completely different world. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whom we are very grateful to, and we like to offer our respects and prayers to, has formed this amazing movement. It's like an oasis in a desert. So we'll spend a few minutes offering our prayers today, very simple prayer, and move ahead with hope that we'll be able to understand something deeper and better. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada is a very scintillating example of a person who is beyond criticism. Nobody can criticize him. And he didn't bother to criticize anybody either, except some cautionary remarks that he made. I just want to quickly analyze with you what you think, in your opinion, is criticism as it applies to you, because all of you would have experiences some way or the other, and gone through an experience of it. Sometimes in the secular world, if you look at criticism, I know in my younger days I had a different idea of criticism. I studied Shakespeare and literature, and I was often into the library, in the British Library, looking for criticisms on Shakespeare's Macbeth that I did, or Thomas Gray, Elegy Written in a Country Churchyard, the poem that I did, or other. You will see in the literary world, criticisms are very common, and it doesn't mean what we know as criticism now. Those literary criticisms means that somebody passes a good or bad comment, a remark on some passages and comments deeply about it, or comments negatively about it, or positively about it. But everything together, positive, negative, is called a literary criticism. So remember those days, criticism in literature means that you pick up all these saying of famous people and then you quote it in your exams and you get better value and marks. But over a period of time, the harsh world, we also get to know that criticism, as we understand now, simply means something very negative about some event, aspect, quality, the person, etc., etc. Right? So how do we as devotees understand a criticism? I just want to float this simple question to you. In the world, criticism means something else, and people are pretty thick-skinned, and they take a lot of criticism and they pass on criticism. It's part of life for them, so they're sort of used to it. But devotees, since I mentioned that we are trying to live in a different atmosphere, become more conscious and more sensitive to criticism. So normally speaking, what does criticism mean? Just a quick go.
Yes, criticism means the marginal propensity to see faults in others while disregarding our own faults and trying to convince others by justifying our own weaknesses. Hare Krishna.
Aha, thank you very much, Prabhu. Your name? It says C. Premas. Okay. Yes, thank you very much. Right. Anybody else wants to take a little go?
Maharaj, the tendency to finding faults in others and judging people in our own opinion, in our views.
Okay. Thank you.
Maharaj, it means that focusing on the shortcomings of others and ignoring what they have good to offer.
Aha. Jai. That's interesting too.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Maharaj,
You raise your hands, I recognize you. Otherwise, there are too many people who are speaking at the same time. You can raise a digital hand, right? I think you know that. You can raise a digital hand and I recognize you. Here is Yaji.
Maharaj, I feel criticism, they're often just negative opinions without much values to help the other person, because a lot of times, criticism or feedbacks could be constructed in much more positive light, but criticism, I see them of not much positive values, just negative opinions.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you. Pratik.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Criticism may well mean that we do not wish well for others. We meant to harm others in form of our action, in form of our words. That may mean criticism.
Okay, thank you, Pratik. Anuradha, Mataji, you raised your hands.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. As per me, I think criticism is not always negative. The positive side of the criticism is a feedback. And it is up to us whether we take criticism as a mere negative judgmental opinion or we convert it into a feedback and be reflective or introspective about it. Because unless there is a criticism of some kind, how will we know that whether we are performing good or bad? So
Great.
it does play
Yeah.
a positive role.
Sure. Thank you very much for the deep comment, Mataji. Right, so all of you have some ideas of criticism and also some difference and a little here and there, nuances of difference between the definitions that we have. I want to ask you a counter question. Are these, because we are all devotees, are these criticisms leveled against you or anybody on your material aspect or on your spiritual identity?
Sorry, Maharaj, can you just repeat the question?
Is criticism leveled on your material quality and aspect, or is criticism leveled against you in your spiritual identity? Turning the plate around a little bit. Yeah. Yes, Sitarani?
Mostly the material identity.
I can't hear you. There's some extra background music that you've got.
Okay, now. Maharaj, in my experience, it's mostly the material identity that we face criticism against.
Yes, yes. Yes, Vallabh Nimai Das.
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj. I am also of the same opinion. It is mostly on the material side, material aspect.
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you. Yaji? Is that your name, Yaji? Or is it some name?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you. Yaji?
I feel it's mostly about the false ego, the false identification with the material ego, feeling it's getting attacked.
Okay, right. You gotcha. Anuradha? Is your hand raised, Anuradha, for this question? We can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
As per me, this criticism is all related at the material level. Like it is up to us that whether we allow it to like affect us at emotional level or spiritual level or not. But criticism is not. It doesn't have a higher dimension.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much for that input. So, conversely, based on what you said, I mean, or rather directly, I should interpret it, that if a person is materialistic, or let me put in terms of a devotee is more materially entangled, he would feel the effect of criticism more. And if he is less materially entangled, a little more liberated or more spiritually oriented, he should feel the criticism less. Am I right? Am I right or wrong? Just some opinions.
Right, Maharaj.
Yeah. So for a devotee, it's very different from the people outside world. For the people in the outside world, they can, like Mataji said, like Anuradha Mataji said, or somebody else said, who said, Yaji said, the false ego is real high at its peak. The world is completely fabricated according to that, on the basis of false ego. So tempers fly very high, effects fly very high. But it is expected that a spiritually oriented person, if he's criticized, should be able to sidestep it. Because at least theoretically, he's trying to be on a different platform. In other words, I'm just talking about our response to criticism vis-a-vis the response of materialists to criticism. Okay? So a materialist will take criticism, like Mataji said, it hurts his false ego, and he will, avenge that criticism, he'll take revenge, he will get back to you, he will show you, etc., etc. And that becomes the whole occupation of life. A devotee would not bother to spend time if he's materially criticized. He will simply sidestep it. Why? It's not really very useful. It's not worth spending time on. And that he can do only if he's well placed in Krishna consciousness, by virtue of his own practice, or at least by knowledge he is well placed, in which case he controls his mind and his intelligence and his etc., etc. And he says, but this is not for me. I don't have to. and he stays away. These are some of the things that intelligent people in Krishna consciousness do, in spiritual life do. Now let's come to what would be the response. Having said that, what would be the response of the two things are happening. One, a person is criticizing. Another person is receiving that criticism. Because taking into consideration what some of you mentioned, a criticism could be good, it could be constructive, it could be even a feedback, or a criticism could be straight pointing out the bad qualities, or etc., etc., etc. But very often you will see the person who is passing this criticism, if at all. They may be in a situation of being senior to you, maybe your guru, maybe somebody who is envious of you, maybe a competing peer, or any one of them. The source of the criticism could be different. And the person who's on the receiving end of the criticism definitely has to take it in, otherwise respond to it in a particular way. Even if you don't physically respond to it, if you have taken it in and you are hurt by it, your subtle body is affected by it, it means you still accepted it. You may not have responded physically because of the situation, the social situation and the person and everything, but you've got affected by it, and which means that you have accepted that criticism and it has got influence on you. So the person who gives the criticism and the person who receives the criticism in each place is different. For instance, let's take that some senior devotee is telling you, that's not the way to do it. You're doing that because this is what you're thinking in your mind, and that's wrong. You should do it this way. And this is what you should think about it. Switch off from this type of thinking. This is an advice almost given, but it comes strongly to you. And you may take it that, thank you very much for pointing out to me. I wanted to know that. That's one way of taking it. The other way of taking it, who are you to tell me? Instantly, who are you to tell me? By the way, okay, I can take it from you because you're my senior, but I'm not going to listen to you. I don't say anything. I don't comment anything. And the other way, the other thing that you could have, that you could be faced with is your guru, your spiritual master, critiquing. I was just hearing Prabhupada's memories a few days back, and I heard from Kaushalya Mataji, Prabhupada's disciple. Very, very interesting expression. And she was doing various things for Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was personally training her in many times. And once he asked her to write up something for some legal stuff. And she wrote according to what she knew, and she brought it to Prabhupada, and there were other people there also. And then Prabhupada asked her to read it or something. And she read it out and said, oh, you don't know how to do this. What can I expect from you? You're a woman and your intelligence is different. Anyway, we will do the needful. Very heavy criticism from Prabhupada. And she said she cried and turned around and left the room. And as soon as she left the room, Prabhupada commented, she's actually very good. But it's my duty to criticize her. She has done it very good. It's my duty to criticize her. And therefore, I'm saying this. You can use it as it is. She later learned that this is what Prabhupada said. And she became a little peaceful. But this was a very heavy criticism. I mean, in the now, today, the way things are happening in the world, if somebody says that, it's finished, nobody joined the movement. You know, the way now it's all about gender equality and so many things, discussions going on, of which even we don't know what to say. And Prabhupada said that at this time. And he said, what can I expect from you? So How does Kaushalya Rani take it? It's a very heavy blow. How do you take it? It's your guru, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, saying. Sometimes you would see him saying, you are a rascal, disobedient rascal. You can see Prabhupada saying that. I was hearing also Tamal Krishna Maharaj saying, oof, sometimes Prabhupada would say things, my gosh, so heavy, nobody could take it. Nobody could take it. So on the receiving end, we are receiving these things from very important people in our life who have a value that we have for them within us. Then, because of our situation, which may not be highly pure, we may instantly respond in a different way because we are hardwired to respond that way. But as we think about it a little bit, gradually, and with a little counseling of others, we get back to the right coordinates. We know that, yeah, maybe this is done for my good, but it takes some time for us to come into it. So between that time, maybe we even think about various other things in our head and maybe become a little offensive, etc., etc. But it is, Prabhupada said, the duty of the guru to chastise. Prabhupada often quoted Chanakya Pandit, who said, Tadayet natu lalayet. Don't be lenient with your disciple or your son. Always give him the beating necessary to shape him up. So in spiritual life, we should be expecting criticism from our seniors, our gurus, etc. And we should take it in. In fact, it's a very good practice. In fact, it's very good training to be able to take criticism and accept it in the right spirit. You can't just think that every time there should be no criticism. That's bad. There should be criticism, even of your material quality. If you didn't know, if you didn't have some Brahminical practice, and if you're in the DD room, or you're serving people, or you're doing something which is culturally wrong, then Prabhupada chastise. It's even for a material thing. No, we are practicing pure devotional service. We don't have to bother about this. No, you have to. People are watching you. People are watching you. You have to. It seems Prabhupada brought the devotees the first time to India. He had a little training session. How you must drink water without touching your lips. How you must wash your hands every time you touch something moochi, your nose, your hair, and all that. He told them all these things. And he said, because they will think that I have not trained you in all these cultural aspects. In India, it is different. They'll notice. So he trained them on all these small things. Because they will criticize me, they'll criticize you. And that will not be very good for our preaching of Krishna consciousness. Although Prabhupada is written throughout his books, all these things really don't matter. So this is a real material quality stuff that Prabhupada is talking about, and he's training to do, and he's preparing us for that type of a criticism. So what we did just now is to just go over criticism and try to understand what really it means to a devotee. It's not that we totally are against criticism. Maybe we'll be very interested in criticism. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, those who find faults with me are my best friends. Those who praise me are my worst enemies. This is definitely something we don't want to follow very much. We are expecting that we would be encouraged, we would be praised, we would be put on the line often. But here is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur saying that I value criticism. I like those people who find faults with me because it shows that they're really interested in me. And even if they were not, I would assume that Krishna has sent them to me. Like Prabhupada in an open lecture in public, he opened this thing for questions. And there was one man who got up and he started asking questions which were sounding like a criticism of Prabhupada in public. And it is known that Prabhupada never responded to that. He just hung his head low. And then he went ahead with the program, the next question, next question. I quoted this in a class. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj came to me and said that I was there in that program. And then you know what? On the way back, people were asking Prabhupada, so why did he not give the guy left, right, center? I mean, Prabhupada, like, Prabhupada said, I have done something to him in my previous life. He just said this and kept quiet. And then the next time Prabhupada came to that place, Gopal Krishna Maharaj told me that he bought a lot of gifts. And he said, find that man and give him this. This was very amazing to me. He remembered that man. And the next time he visited that place, Gopal Krishna told him, you know something? I want to tell you something more about that, about what you said. He said the next time Prabhupada came there, he sent some gifts to that man, found out who it is and sent them gifts to that man. I was very amazed at the response that Prabhupada gave to being criticized. Two responses he gave. One, I have done something to him in my previous life, which Prabhupada knew by his own transcendental mystic potency that he had. And number two, he said, I should do some good for him now. He sent gifts to him. I just want you to see the response towards criticism from a Mahabhagavata devotee like Prabhupada. It's not at all easy for us to do this so easily. But he instantly did it. He instantly switched on and said, I've done something to him in my previous life. Let him take it. Let him have the thrill of criticizing me, and I don't say anything to it. Such a deep response, and that too instantly. And then I understood that Prabhupada is at all points of time very Krishna conscious, from moment to moment, that he could respond like this. And later come and also give a gift to that person. So just see how we respond. And I like to study with you instances. I think we are getting late. Can I go on a little bit? What's the time? It's 8:10. We go up to 8:30, right? Mataji,
you can carry on, Maharaj. You can carry on, yes, up to 8:30. That's okay.
Okay, fine. So this is like an intro, and to just sink ourselves, wade into what criticism should be, why we criticize. That we don't have to get into. A criticism, like I said, here is leveled properly by a senior person on somebody for their welfare. And sometimes people think, I have every right to criticize you. You belong to me. I love you. And they give you a whack if necessary also, because I wholly own you and I'm fully accountable for you and I'm training you, and you have to take it. In the material world, people hire coaches, and they hire coaches to get themselves trained. And the coaches are real heavy guys. They will really go right into their subtle body and said, you will never make it. You're an idiot. You have no scope for, you can never be a champion because like this. Every day it's like pounding the man in his subtle body and then making him perform things physically. Sports coaches, other coaches, leadership coaches, and all of them, they openly criticize and they take every right to criticize. They get paid for criticizing. They get paid for criticizing and motivating that person to perform. So what to speak of a guru who is also a coach? Why should he not do it? He must do it. We must welcome it. So the climate that we have inside our head for accepting criticism is something that I want to talk about. Devotees especially should be happy to take criticism, especially on their material qualities. When they're criticized, this is not going to help you. It's not something to fight for. We should immediately know why. You can even argue it out. You can even understand it better. But we want people to criticize us. Navayogendra Maharaj once when I was in Vrindavan on the Prabhupada's disappearance day, it was his time to give an offering, and he gave an offering saying that I miss Prabhupada very much because I miss how strongly, heavily he criticized us when we did something wrong. Nowadays, I find it so difficult. If I say two things to my disciple, he may most probably leave. He may not see my face again. And it's so difficult to correct them. But I am in a position where nobody is criticizing me now. I wish there was somebody above me telling me what's right and what's wrong. It's such a nice, sheltered position to be under Prabhupada and walk around with him and once in a while get criticized by him. With all the affection he was pouring on all of us, with all the siksha he was giving us, he would also criticize. And I loved it. And I miss it so much. I noted it down as something very important. Because when people assume positions of being guru, they have absolute power over their wards, their disciples. And if they encircle themselves, isolate themselves in their own world, then practically speaking, mostly they will be criticizing maybe their, dependents, but never getting any criticism. Healthy life is we should be always under some criticism. And then we'll be in a better position to offer constructive criticism. One who is not being criticized will normally find it difficult to give constructive, loving, fully involved, accountable criticism. If you're too free, that's my loose statement maybe, but generally it is like that. One who has not been criticized, one who has not been shaped up, one who has not grown up properly, he will find it very difficult to give constructive criticism. Because he knows the value of criticism, and then he knows that what I am saying is for the good. I am very sure about it in my head, right? So having said that, I just want to take a peek into different types of criticisms that we will see in Prabhupada's writing from famous instances and events that have happened. Number one is, you can even classify that. Sometimes you have blasphemy, you have aparad, you have criticism, you have feedback. All these are slightly different. Blasphemy is what Shishupala did to Krishna. He just got up. He was so envious. And when Krishna was voted in to be the person who will be worshipped in the Rajasuya Yajna, he couldn't take it. From the younger days, he has been on that platform. So he got up and started blaspheming Krishna. It's actually a very strong way of criticizing. It extends to, we are talking criticism on a very little sophisticated level of passing a little remark, even lightly. People immediately recognize in a sensitive atmosphere. People immediately recognize, wow, this is pointed at me. This is what is being said. Subtle criticism picked up very fast in people who are very sensitive. But there's gross criticism and people don't care much. They're insensitive guys, thick-skinned guys. But then there is blasphemy, open attack, verbal attack, which is very deep criticism. And Shishupala did that. And others couldn't take it. Many others were stopped from doing anything to him. Don't. You should stop, Bhima. Others stopped. No. Just it's Krishna who's being criticized, and hold on. And others joined Shishupala also. And then Krishna simply waited and then let loose the Sudarshan Chakra on him. In front of everybody, cut off his head. This is the response to criticism from somebody like Shishupala. Krishna's response to criticism. Very interesting. We should study this a little more. At the same time, that is blasphemy. Then aparad, of course, you have many. Ramachandra Puri's criticism of Lord Chaitanya. It was offensive. And it was at different levels. It was blasphemy, it was criticism, it was aparad. And many levels you can categorize it, the different things he said. Then you have Prabhupada's own guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This was very interesting for me. Going with Bhakti Vinoda Thakur to whom Bhakti Vinoda Thakur did not accept very much in terms of siksha, but like an official diksha guru, he accepted him. But often he would meet him and give him dakshina and some gifts and fruits and everything. So this time he took along with him Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his son. And Bhakti Vinoda Thakur paid obeisances, which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also is known to have done quickly. And then he got up and he found that Bipin Bihari Goswami is placing his feet on the head of Bhakti Vinoda Thakur as he was paying obeisances. And he didn't like it. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bimal Prasad, did not like it. And so Bhakti Vinoda Thakur got up and offered everything and then went into the ashram. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bimal Prasad Das, didn't go behind Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. He stood back, and after his father left, he asked a question of Bipin Bihari Goswami. Do you think you have got the yogyata? You've got the qualification to place your feet on top of my father's head. Do you know who my father is? He is a liberated Parshada, a part and parcel, an eternal associate, Nitya Siddha. And you think you have the qualification to put your feet on him? He asked this of Bipin Bihari Goswami. This is a very powerful criticism from a boy. And he was shocked. And then when Bhaktivinoda Thakur came back, he made a slant comment. Your son can make comments to the point of being brash and rude. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur didn't mind it much. He just took his son and he just said sorry and all that something and just left with his son. He didn't even reprimand his son much. He just left. That was a very amazing incident to me, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his own guru, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is from his heart asking this question. It was obviously taken as a statement of strong criticism by Bipin Bihari Goswami. So sometimes we see these type of things. There is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur calling Bhaktivinoda Thakur as Tri Sangi. You will see that in the Transcendental Diary written by Hari Sauri. Prabhupada told Hari Sauri, you know that the conversations between Vaishnavas should never be judged on a different plane. And he said that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur called his father Stri Sangi, one who is very interested in women's association. It is very sure. It is very, very different to hear. And he said, you should not tell anybody else about this. It's not meant for the common man. And Hari Sauri, he writes in that, he said, I know, but devotees definitely have to know about this. And he wrote it down in the Transcendental Diary that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur commented to his father, you are a Stri Sangi. It's such a heavy comment. But you can see it's never seen as a criticism. And we also cannot see it as a criticism. When two very great personalities passing a comment, and in the case of Bipin Bihari Goswami, it's taken in one way. And they take a Bhaktivinoda Thakur and this should have been taken another way. I don't know the responses or whatever it is, but you can read this in Transcendental Diary. So on one side, if I don't take it as a criticism at all, like I'm sure Bhaktivinoda Thakur wouldn't have the least bothered about his son saying you're a Stri Sangi, maybe. I'm just speculating. And he would have never taken it badly. Yeah, maybe, or something, whatever. He had 2 wives and he had 14 children and all that. So we don't know. But you see on these levels, it cannot be considered to be criticism in the way we are discussing it. For sadhakas who are trying to become Krishna conscious, this is very serious. But on a different plane, on arguments and on discussions and everything, we can't take it in the same way. We can't take it in the same way. So you will see this. You will see a very high class, very pure devotee responding to somebody very low. And the response is very different. And you will see somebody like Krishna responding to Sishupala The response is very different. And you see Bipin Bihari Goswami incident in the response of Bhakti Vinoda Thakur and Bipin Bihari Goswami. And you see Bhakti Vinoda Thakur and his response to his son being called Sri Sangi. I just want to throw this inside to see how criticism also can become ineffective when the person who's receiving it deals with it in a Krishna conscious way. If he takes it in a Krishna conscious way, nothing can affect him. So in the instance of, if we can just discuss the instance of, we discussed a little bit about Shishupala. The instance of Ramachandra Puri is very, very interesting. I thought that I would stop here for a moment before we get into Ramachandra Puri and take any comment or question so that I know how to shape it up further as we move. So you got an idea. I just did an intro first, took a feedback from you as to what you know about criticism and what you understand by criticism, and gave you a few examples of criticism in the devotees' world, from the lowest to a different higher level, and the responses and the reactions to it. I'm just skimming the surface. We're not able to go deep inside, but skimming the surface right now. The deep inside thing you will do, and I will watch maybe. So it's very interesting to study this topic in a different plane. And then we're also going to study later about the criticism that leveled by people like Lord Chaitanya himself, and at what quality it had, effused with devotion. We'll study that also a little bit. Okay, so I will allow Radha Padadhuli Dasi, whose face I can't see because she's got a halo behind her, the window. Okay, now it's better. The halo is still there, Mataji. You must be somebody very special.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Criticism is it denotes a lot of negativity, but in the ISKCON circles, we use the word chastisement more.
Mm.
So, which kind of diffuses the impact of the negativity. So how do we understand? I mean, they both say criticism means finding bad in others, and chastisement means to criticize. This is the dictionary meaning. I was just checking. This thought came to me. So how do we understand?
Well, yeah, you see, you brought a very nice point. Yeah, brought a very nice point. To see, dictionary meaning is not everything. Our experience is a better dictionary. You understand? Generally speaking, we have to call it criticism. But what I experience is a chastisement. And I need it. I need it. So when a guru criticizes, it is called chastisement. When a karmi, a useless guy, a materialist in the outside world, criticizes you, you should take it as a criticism only, not as a chastisement. So the dictionary is not very useful. Your experience of that particular comment coming to you, how you will accept it, will change the meaning of it. Right? If somebody, like Shishupala it's mentioned, is blasphemous to Krishna. He was blasphemous to Krishna. Right? So we understand the context and how it is to be taken and accepted. I think at that time it will change. That's my brief comment at what you said. Maybe somebody has a better comment to make also. Vallabh Nimai Das, and then Raghu Kula Sri Ramadas, whose
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Beautiful countenance, Vaishnava countenance, I cannot see. Raghu Kula Sri Ramadas. Okay, thank you. Yes, go ahead, Vallabh Nimai.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj. What I could understand, Maharaj, you have told about two aspects. One is to receiving how to receive criticism, and another is to criticize someone. But mostly, as we know, as you have also told, when we got criticism from our guru or senior Vaishnavas, we take it like a blessing. The problem creates when we got the criticism from the equals or someone who is subordinate. So I just want to know about it, how to deal when we receive criticism from the so-called juniors. I can't say, but those who are latecomer than us, and those who are equal, when equals are criticizing, and how to know the intention that equal want to get some improvement in myself, or it is really criticism for showing the lower.
You see, when we talk about criticism, we are already wired in to think that criticism means bad. This is the premise we start from. But intelligent people, they don't mind it is subordinate to anybody. If it is useful to me, I will accept it. People who are interested in, who are Saragrahis. Prabhupada was printing back to Godhead in that, in Delhi, you have that place they got recently, Prabhupada's, that temple. I went there actually. What's the place? Somewhere.
Chippiwada,
yeah. Chippiwada. Thank you. Chippiwada place. I went there, and somewhere there, I was told that that's a place where Prabhupada was, chased by a, roadside bull or something, and he fell down. And also, on one of his trips there, somebody came to him and said, Swamiji, why are you printing these papers? People throw it. You should make a book. Then people will keep it with them. It was a light advice, a feedback. You could also think it's a criticism. Say, what do you know about it? My guru has given me a
Okay. Well,
Looks like Maharaj is disconnected, so just be patient. He'll be coming back. It's an internet problem. It seems that there might have been a power cut on Maharaj's side. So we are calling him and trying to figure out what is happening with him. Just wait a few seconds or a minute or two, and we'll let you know whether he's rejoining or not.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Maharaj's assistant. So Maharaj is trying to rejoin. It may take 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you very much for informing. So everyone, please wait. Maharaj is coming back. He's trying.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Maharaj. Yes, we were waiting for you.
There was a power cut and then the power came back in a few minutes. I am really being challenged in many different ways. There must be some guy here, some haunted guy or some special agent of Maya's, and I am, anyway, let's talk about that later. So a few minutes more and we will shut the thing down. Selling something very important to you and wanting to hear from you, right? Okay, Yaji.
Maharaj, I have a question. Is that okay?
Yes, please. Provided I can answer it.
So, you were saying like it's okay to take some time to be able to appreciate and take in the criticism, but I'm thinking like, is there any suggestion you could give us so the moment we get the criticism, we would be able to take it better, like the moment we receive the criticism, not taking so long to be able to appreciate that? Because I think on one hand, it's so natural for us, to be critical, judgmental towards the other person when we hear something bad from them. It's almost like a natural building mechanism. So do you have any suggestions?
Well, the only suggestion is to make progress in Krishna consciousness. It's only through Krishna consciousness that you can respond like that. There is no doubt about that. That we have seen it in the whole Bhagavat. We have seen it in many places. The response, a proactive response to criticism is based on where you are standing at that time. There's a saying in the secular world that you will stand where you sit. Where you are placed, from there you will respond. So how your consciousness is placed at that point of time, from there you will respond. Isn't it? So we can't do anything about that. We can't go and twiddle it. The only way is to naturally acquire it and practice it. Sometimes we can control our mind and our senses a little bit and control ourselves and do it, but that's like not a natural state. But in the natural state, you see people very naturally respond, very pure devotees of the Lord respond very nicely. The response of Samika Rishi to Parikshit Maharaj putting a snake around his neck is a very wonderful way to read it. When he got out of his trance, he didn't think much about it. He just threw the snake. And when his son cursed, again he told his son, no, that's not the way to do it. He's a king. You shouldn't. He was throughout the same person in his response. He very thoroughly condemned the act of cursing Maharaj Parikshit. And he then counseled his son that, a devotee means if you're insulted, if you're criticized, if you're even physically hurt, you should not respond. Because Tiraskrita, Vipralabdha, Kshatta, Kshipta, a very beautiful verse, he says, in all these circumstances, it's better not to respond. That's the meaning of a Brahmana, that's the meaning of a devotee.
Thank you, Maharaj. Seems a long way to go, but thanks.
Okay. Raghukula Sri Ramadas.
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj. First of all, thank you for such a valuable class. But I just want to ask one thing here, that today I get to know about, like, we have to be we have to be keep calm when someone scolds us, or like someone like do this. But I just want to ask about the what happened in the past. Like, we so if someone scolds us, we argue them.
Can't hear
Not
you,
the
Raghukul.
now, Maharaj, my voice audible?
No, it's coming in bits and pieces. But it's okay.
Maharaj, yeah, okay. My question was, if like in past someone scold us, like, and we argue them, and it and I could commit like Vaishnav Aparadh, because if we argue with the devotees, might be a kind of Vaishnav Aparadh, like it is. So how to get recover from, like, many people, because like some of them are only like known to us, equal to us, some of them are higher to us, lower to us. So that's what, because in my life I did this thing, that I replied to them also in that same tone. So that's why just asking, because like
you see, to be very practical about these things. You should not understand it theoretically. Number one, almost everyone is definitely going through experience to learn these things. It's not that instantly you can become somebody with a halo around your head and floating without your feet touching the ground, and you're a being from the heavens or something. Everybody makes mistakes. That's natural. Even in chanting, there's a whole stage called the offensive stage, and then the clearing stage, and then the pure stage. So what can we do? I mean, how much can we beat yourself to become? There is a natural process. So this does not mean you should become very cool about it and doesn't matter, you can do what you want. But don't go to the other extreme. Balance it. Invariably, you'll make mistakes. Invariably, you may get angry. Invariably, you'll get this thing. But as you read, as you discuss, as you chant, you get to the point of thinking, I shouldn't have done that, because my values are shifting as I hear more, as I associate more, as I read Prabhupada's books more. So as my values shift, my response also shifts. As I become more educated, as I come to know more, as I have a tendency to think that that's how I should like to be, I have a role model like this, and then you will naturally shift. So nothing wrong at one point of time that you made a mistake. You don't have to lament that, but grow from that place. If you didn't grow, that's what you should lament about. That's what you should lament about. Then you'll be doing more and more of this. But if you grew, you may not want to do like that again, because your response will be different, coming from where you have placed yourself in terms of values, understanding, knowledge, practice, experience, everything. So gradually there is growth. When there is growth, these things will go away. So the greatest thing we should worry about is whether we are growing or not. So don't worry just specifically only, oh, I did that, I'm feeling very bad about that. Throughout your life, you don't have to feel bad about it. It's okay. You grow out of it. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj. Thanks.
Right. Pratik?
Yeah. Maharaj, do you have time for one more question?
I think.
So my question was...
I'll answer one more also, that is Rajeshwara Gauranga Das's, and then we can call it a day. Unless somebody has a comment to make. Because I know all of you to go and take prasadam also.
So my question was, Maharaj, that when about hearing criticism. So when we are told about some devotee whom we respect or care too much about, and we have to hear criticism of certain devotee. So what shall we do in that situation? The person who is speaking is not speaking out of ill will. He's speaking so that I may learn from that devotee or the mistakes that devotee has made, or I don't know. I don't know the intention behind, but I try to take it positively. But it is sometimes, too much to take because we care or respect that devotee too much. They may be our Shiksha Gurus or Diksha Gurus, or they may be someone very dear to us. So how do we hear criticism of those devotees?
Well, we live in this world. Welcome to the world of Hare Krishna. You definitely, especially with the organizational dynamics of having to manage the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, especially if you're a leader or if you're a follower of some leader, you have to face many such things. But over a period of time, you get to analyze things. Is it an organizational critic done by somebody? Or is it a critic leveled personally at somebody? Or is it a criticism on something else? You should analyze that properly. If it's an organizational critic that somebody says that I don't think he's so much of a good manager, he didn't understand what to do exactly, and he did like this. If he says there's nothing wrong and don't have to take it, oh no, I think he's the world's best manager, he needs a Nobel Prize. You don't have to think like that. If people criticize something about some material aspect of somebody's performance, it's not a bad thing. Okay, you think that way, but I think I have a different opinion about it because I have had experience with them organizationally like this. Not so bad like you think. It's okay. You can adjust it in your mind. When somebody makes a comment about somebody's makes a personal comment on somebody. He is a puffed up guy, he's like this, or whatever. Then you have to be a little careful. Taking that in. Right? Or if it is too much, then you can say, I don't want to hear that, Prabhu, because my views on that may differ. So let's not talk about it. You can set it aside. But if the person is a little brash and he doesn't understand it, but he keeps on going, then you can walk off. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami is known to be a person who just closed his ears and walked off when people were talking about devotees. He didn't want to hear. So I don't want to hear. I'm going. That's my credo. That's my personal code of ethics. I don't want to hear. Whatever you may think about me doesn't matter. I want to protect my Krishna consciousness. So I don't hear. You may think I am brash that I walked out from the conversation. I am rude. I just walked out on you and all that. But I told you once, I don't want to hear this. I told you the second time and you kept going. So sorry, Prabhu, I can't continue this conversation anymore, and you can walk off.
Even though that devotee may be our authority or kind of good manager.
Then you have to tell them, please don't do it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I can get very disturbed if you say this again to me. You can make your state known to them. I get disturbed when this happens. Please do not. Mostly people will refrain if you say that, okay, I'm sorry. Very rarely you will see somebody who's so uncouth that he will continue to do this to you. There may be some people, I don't know, but mostly in a devotee society, they'll say, okay, don't take it bad. I won't talk about it. That's all they'll say. So it's all about communicating properly, not communicating, you said this about this, I think instead of that, you could communicate and say, Prabhu, I think that's a little disturbing for me. I know that person very well, and I don't think I want to hear this from you because it's not any fruitful talk, you hearing this, and it's not going to help us in any way because I'm not involved in so and so thing. So why do you want to talk to me about this? Better we don't. That's enough. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you.
We have to learn how to do these things because we live in a society of a heterogeneous mass of people who are not like aligned like Hitler or something. Hail Hitler, everybody do what I tell you to do. Boy, nobody changes. Like in some of these big corporate companies now, you'll see everybody's molded. I work in IBM. Can you see it? Yeah, I can see it in every pore of your body. oozing out, because everything you talk is like that, everything you do is like that. You speak the glories of your company, and then you say, this is our mission, and I am, you can make out. But Prabhupada's movement, especially a spiritual movement like this, people are asked to be independently thoughtful by Prabhupada. It's up to them how do they take that independent thoughtfulness. And so we have to tolerate it. Sorry, that's not the type of independent thoughtfulness I want to hear. Excuse me, you can move out and save yourself what to do. Okay? Rajeshwar Gaurangadas.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavata Pranam Maharaj.
May we see you? Yes, Hari Bol.
Maharaj, here is a question written in the chat that Jagat Guru Prabhu written that kindly let me know something a devotee may give criticism or suggestion. Is it necessary on our part to take it positively because it is just his or her view on some particular aspect? So can we just hear it and don't do anything really with myself? So I want to add to this question that different devotees have different views. I mean, everybody is individual, so everybody has a different opinion. So in this case, how can we deal? Like, I'm in a publishing site. I'm just doing a seva in our local temple. So then I got feedback from different devotees that this article is not good, that article is not good. So something like that. So different views we face from different devotees. So in this case, how to deal with this situation is, I mean, criticism that is okay, but sometimes it is demotivation for us also, because even inside ourselves that we feel that if we ignore his views, opinions, so that is a kind of offensive. So sometimes it hurts us. So how can we deal ourselves with this kind of situation?
In a service like yours, if you're in publishing, maybe you're publishing the PTG or Back to Godhead in your language or whatever. You're from Bangladesh?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
So you may have to definitely take criticism, because this is criticism about the output, the type of article, the outreach effect it will have, or the type of impact it will have on our preaching, etc. And many people will be concerned. It cannot be, especially a thing like a magazine, cannot be only your view or somebody else's view. It definitely has to be a collective view of many preachers and many people interested in the Krishna consciousness movement and the type of impact it makes in the localites or in the locals, or the ethos of the place. And so many considerations are there. Everything may not be known to you, and if everything is known to you, sometimes you may make a mistake also. So yours is a service where you have to be trained to take a lot of criticism on the publications, and it's perfectly all right. We want that feedback. We don't take it personally. We don't have to take it personally. I just gave a Gita session to a lot of executives and everything. And I told them, what do you think about this thing? I want your feedback. Some of them refused to give. I said, no, I want to hear you. I know you have something to say which you think will be unpleasant to me. And I'm a Swamiji, sannyasi, you don't want to. I said, you should go ahead. I said, I'll write to you. And they wrote to me and said, not very professional. Your technical team is not very professional. It went off and then you said, can you hear me, and all that. You should not go around talking in public. Can you hear me? All that you do in the backside. It puts me off. I went off the course because I thought it's not very professional. It's a very strong critic, and it was very useful to me because I knew I was dealing with professionals, and you can't be unprofessional. They don't like it. If I'm unprofessional, I cannot sell the Gita to them. I cannot make them accept the Gita. So I can't say, I don't like your criticism, you are offensive. None of these things are valuable to him. And he's making a very, straightforward thing. And another person said that everything was very nice, but you never gave us any, how to put this into real life in our corporate life, some case history study or something like that. I said, where is the time to do that? He said that, I don't know, I just wanted to tell you that it won't gel in me unless you tell me out. So these are very good criticisms.
Thank you
as
so
God
much.
given, at God given as Krishna sent, like Prabhupada did. Om Tat Sat. And I know that the fires in your stomach are burning and you need to go and take prasadam. So thank you very much for your company in these days of the pandemic, giving me an opportunity to interact with you. So I would say for the next session that I'm supposed to do, I will be analyzing the case of Ramachandra Puri along with some other things. So if you want, you can read up that a little bit. And I will be asking you to do some writing. I'll be giving you a little assignment to do. It's almost on the tip of my tongue, I should say it, but I think I shouldn't say it now. I'll keep it as a suspense and communicate that to you in the next session. Okay? Have a great breakfast. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, would be looking forward to hear you next time.
Hari Bol.
Thank you so much for this wonderful
Thank you for the opportunity, Mataji.
We want more. We won't let you go now. We found you through the cyber.
Well, cyber can go anywhere, anytime. I'm doing that all the time. I don't have to catch a flight and come to Vrindavan and trudge along with my luggage and find a place to stay and then come to the venue. It's so nice.
But still, we will also invite you physically.
Oh, still, I love to come to Vrindavan. Oh, that's my excuse to come.
I know.
Okay. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much.
Hare
Hari Bol.
Krishna Maharaj,
Hari
Hare
Bol.
Krishna.
Hari Bol.